So it's Fraud, Waste and Abuse Week. And we know that the healthcare industry is a very unique industry. It's very emotive. As a patient or a person, when you feeling sick, you go to your doctor and you trusting or almost giving your entire healthcare to that doctor. Unlike in other industries where, you grocery shopping, you can pick and choose what you want. In the healthcare industry, it seems more of, I don't want to say provider driven, but it is what your doctor says is kind of what you take and what goes.
With the components of the fraud triangle being pressure, opportunity, and rationalization, this is really very relevant in the healthcare industry. Pressure, we all know in the economic situation we are, it's real for every South African. And with opportunity, if we think about the fact that MedScheme processes more than 10,000 claims on an annual or a daily basis, it's 40,000 healthcare providers we pay on a monthly basis. There's opportunity for an irregular claim to be in between. And ultimately, a rationalization, healthcare providers and members do rationalize their actions. They want to feel good about what they do, and we all want to get value for money from what we pay for medical schemes. So we rationalize submitting an irregular claim now and then.
You have identified cases of fraud, waste and abuse. So what is it that exactly MedScheme does to ensure that the interests of the members are protected?
So I think when MedScheme identifies any irregularities, whether it's fraudulent, wasteful, abuseful, or abuse, they go into their processes and investigate. And the first thing that they do is ask healthcare providers for the proof in their claims, because you must remember, as an insurance provider, your normal insurance provider would ask you if you've had a car accident. Give me a picture of your damage. I'll bring someone to assess, and then we look for 3 quotes. In this case, because healthcare is so sensitive, so urgent, we just normally pay claims in good faith. So when there are irregularities identified, and these always come retrospectively, we want to see the proof. So you say that someone had a broken leg. I want to see the x-ray that says there was a broken leg and this is what you've actually done to provide or render services for that person's healthcare. And when we ask for those records and we go into an investigation to actually see, because those would have been the red flags. Maybe everybody who sees the healthcare provider has a broken leg and all the claims look the same. But why? Because in normal life, we all know we can't actually go through the same kind of healthcare journeys. So those are the reasons why we go into an investigation. MedScheme has processes that are unbiased, they're fair, and we try to ensure that we are actually identifying accurate issues. We engage with healthcare providers, and that's how we actually protect members and their health benefits.
And Zana, just to link onto that, when we're asking for the proof, do we ask the member? Do we ask the provider? Do we ask both? In like the example that you gave, because it's going back to what I'm saying in terms of members, being part of the journey of their healthcare.
So in this case, we'd ask the healthcare provider. I think what's important is that even though the contract is between a member and the medical scheme, the healthcare provider, by claiming, also is linked into the contract. So because the records stay at a doctor's office, it only makes sense that we ask the healthcare provider, give us the record, let's see what's in the record. We've already gotten the consents. This is just part of operationalizing that agreement to ensure that we're actually paying claims in good faith.
But obviously, as I suppose my responsibility as a member comes in where schemes send me the claims. Schemes say that a provider has claimed XYZ. So obviously, if I see an X-ray that has been claimed, I can more than, get in contact with MedScheme or get in contact with the medical aid and say, but hold on, I did not have an X-ray.
Yes, and I think that's where the awareness comes in, is that we need to educate our members that if you see something irregular going on with your claims, ask your provider. I didn't have a broken leg. Why is there an X-ray? I didn't have a bladder infection. Why am I seeing all of these tests being done on my medical scheme? Explain to me, or call your medical scheme. I see these claims. What do they mean? So this is what the awareness is about, empowering our members to say, where you see something that seems odd, or you see a claim come through and you've never seen the doctor in the past month, the previous month before that, and now there's a claim, then you need to ask questions.
Absolutely. And I think we need members to be aware. Unfortunately, there are also cases where members are very much involved with this. So members and healthcare providers collude. If I can just give you a simple example of something that we identified recently, where a podiatrist colluded with members and provided them with branded shoes. So the member knows very well it's not something covered by the medical scheme. They work with the healthcare provider, where the healthcare provider misinterpret or misrepresent these claims and claim for inner soles. They know that that is not the service they provided to the member, but between them they collude, and ultimately they share the outcome or the benefit from that claim. Fraud is misrepresentation of claims for your benefit at the expense of someone else. And this is exactly what is in this example, what's happening. The healthcare provider and the member is benefiting, and ultimately all the other members, part of that scheme, is footing that bill.
There seems to be this standard impression that FWA refers mainly to healthcare providers. Is it always the case, or members also have a role to play in ensuring that, fraud is alleviated within this space?
Very valid question, and I think it's important to understand that it's not always coming from a healthcare provider perspective. A lot of times the healthcare provider is actually put under a lot of pressure by the members. Yeah. For example, if you typically have a hospital plan with limited benefits, maybe a little bit of saving, you might put pressure on your healthcare provider to admit you in hospital, because once you're admitted, benefits are open for you. You can then do your x-rays and tests and all sorts of things where maybe admission is not clinically necessary. Yeah. And that at the end is a way that the healthcare providers are pressured to allow certain things which is actually not covered. That would be typically where a member pressures a healthcare provider. Sometimes, as per my previous example, there's collusion. So another recent strange one we looked into is a member and a healthcare provider dentist that's sharing proceeds from a consultation. So it was a case where they pretended to extract certain teeth, and that was claimed for. The proceeds was shared between the healthcare provider and the member, and ultimately 2-3 years later, that same member was actually in an accident and needed to extract that same tooth. Now, you can only extract the tooth once, so that alerted us to the fact that the first one was a false claim because they claimed for that same tooth 3 years ago. So that's typically where they share the proceeds. And then in the third example, you might have a healthcare provider that submits fraudulent claims without the member knowing anything about it. So if a member does not check their statements, you might have a social worker or a physio that submits daily consultations, and you're not aware of that, and you don't see that on your member statement. And that is then the healthcare provider doing that without your knowledge. And the only way that we can really pick that up is if the member alerts us that they have never consulted that healthcare provider, or they see the claims coming through and they haven't been there.
Sure. And I think your first example brings out a very important point where members need to understand their benefits. Zanele has said, this is an insurance in itself. So you need to know what you are buying and what it limits you, or the care that you can be limited to. And so it's very important that we do bring that out, that this is not just us saying FWA, providers do this, providers do that, but members have a role to play, not only just understanding what a provider could be doing, but understanding what they're doing affects other members, and it's just wrong.
Yeah. Absolutely. And linking to what you said, the insurance principle, if you would have insurance for your house burning down, you are lucky if you didn't go through that tragedy. Yes. And you are lucky if you didn't claim from your insurance. Mm-hmm. The same with a medical scheme. If you did not claim, you are blessed. It's not something that you need to get value for money. Yes. And go through a process where you submit a fraudulent claim or collude with a healthcare provider to get some benefit from that, because it's really going to the risk pool for all members. Someone else might be diagnosed with cancer, and that money is used for that member. And if you don't use it, you should consider yourself lucky.
So with the example that you've just given to us, what does MedScheme do to actually recover back what has been lost by the schemes due to these irregular billings? And
so I think when there are irregularities that have been identified, whether it's through fraud, waste, or abuse, the consequence is the same. The scheme has lost something, and therefore the scheme is entitled to recover. So there's a common law principle called the re vindicatio, and the re vindicatio allows someone to actually recover something that belongs to them or that has been actually given over already. So in this case, we would have paid over a benefit that was unduly paid. So Section 59 would allow us to recover, in this instance, for fraud, where the person wasn't entitled to get payment for those claims.
Okay, so is Section 59 the only recovery or recourse that the schemes would have to actually right this wrong for act that would have been identified by the forensics?
So I think what's important is that FWA encompasses more than just fraud. It's wasteful claims or abusive claims. So you'd find sometimes it's just a clinical error. Sometimes maybe we've duplicated claims. So in terms of Regulation 6 of the Act, it allows the scheme to adjudicate those claims and see where there are errors, where there's duplication, and that allows the medical schemes a period of 120 days to adjudicate and then pay reverse claims. So some of those reversals are recoveries because maybe someone has used a code that is mutually exclusive with another one.
And as MedScheme, so if we're speaking to the point of we want to take the members on the journey, anything that, or how does a member or a provider, how do they actually, report something when they think that there's an irregularity?
So we have various different platforms to report, and we really partner with an independent company where you can report anonymously. So it's important for members and healthcare providers to know that they are protected. They can report on different platforms because we need to make it easy and quick for them to report, for us to then really take action and investigate whatever is bothering them. So there's various different hotlines, hotline number, email, apps that you can use, and just a direct hotline to us. We will investigate every single allegation that we receive.
Sure, and I think, we're speaking now about awareness, but I think to go beyond just this is what this week is about, for me, it was important to just bring it all together again and say the member needs to be accountable for their own healthcare. We're doing this for them, so we are a very member-centric business, a very member-centric organization as Afrocentric. So we're pleading and we're saying to members, you know what? Take your health journey is your own, right? The provider, the medical schemes, all of that, we supporting. They're a support structure, but your health is your health. And at the end of the day, it can't be that it's about the provider is doing something wrong or the provider is ask questions. You well within your right to ask questions. You well within your right to ask for alternatives and in certain things, just like with any other industry. And I think as much as healthcare is highly emotive, like we said, and highly sensitive, people need it's not different. And with any service that you're paying for, you need to know and own what you're paying.
Absolutely. No, members cannot be ignorant. They need to be informed. They need to really take action and involve themselves in this journey. And I think from a MedScheme perspective, we look after 3.8 million lives. We have all the controls and processes in place. We've got the best systems. We've got good processes that are unbiased and fair. And I guess from our perspective, we're really trying our best to ensure sustainable healthcare for all and making sure that every rand spent on healthcare or every claim that we paid is really used for clinical best outcomes and really just for clinical necessary medical care.
Healthier together. Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.